Hello, my name is Nandi Soccer and I'm here to talk about Dragon Age lore. So this week's topic was supposed to be about the religions of Thedas, but it turned out to be a very lengthy video, so instead I'm opting into dividing it into three parts. The first part is going to talk about the Orlesian Chantry or the Orlesian Chantry belief system, and the second part is going to talk about the Tevinter Chantry, and the third part is going to talk about the non-human beliefs, which are the elves, dwarves, and the Qunari. So let's talk about the first subtopic, and let's talk about the Orlesian Chantry. The Emperor of Orlais and the founder of the Chantry, Cordelius Draken, once said, "Intelligence is asking why you exist, power is discovering the answer." The Church of the Maker, also known as the Chantry, is the most widespread belief across Thedas. Most of the humans pay at least lip service to the Maker. The heart of this chantry is the teachings of the prophet Andraste, a holy book known as the Chant of Light. The Andrastian faith relies on four core principles. Number one is that magic is a corrupting influence on the world. Number two is that humans' pride destroyed the seed of the Maker, known as the Golden City, resulting in the creation of the Darkspawn. Number three is that Andraste was the bride of the Maker and her sacrifice must be remembered and honored. Number four was that humans' sin drove the Maker away from humanity, and in order to please him, all people must unite in praising him. That's when the Maker comes back and turns the world into a paradise. So revered by the Orlesians, Andraste was said to be born in a small village in Denerim. Her father was the chief of one of the biggest of the Alamari tribes. From early age, Andraste suffered from weird dreams of a then hidden god known as the Maker. Night after night, she eventually made sense of these dreams and realized that the dreams were actually messages from the Maker of the world, who had abandoned it when the people started worshipping the old gods. According to the Chant of Light, the Maker woke up from his slumber when he heard Andraste's song. He came and offered to take her by his side, away from this messed up world, but she kindly refused, and instead begged the Maker to come back to the world and create paradise. He agreed, but on one condition, that Andraste convinced the people to destroy their false idol. From this time forward, Andraste was known as the Maker's betrothed. One of the commandments of the Maker was that magic exists to serve man and not to rule over him. In a world that was ruled by zealous, powerful mages who worshipped the dreadful old gods, this idea gained traction very fast. Andraste always played on the tone that the archdemon that was ravaging the lands throughout the Blight was actually a corrupted old god. This drove the people away from worshipping the old gods. With the increase of hearing about Andraste's miracle, people started following her into believing in the one and only Maker. Her husband, Mephiras, was a great general, and by her side the armies of Andraste grew. Together, Andraste and her husband dug a path into the heart of the Imperium, Minrathous, the capital of Tevinter. West of Minrathous was a battle of the Valerian Fields, where Andraste and her husband won a great battle. Fighting in her shadow for so long weighed heavily on Mephiras. He started feeling jealous of his wife's betrothal to the Maker. And then, after the great victory of the Valerian Fields, Mephiras betrayed Andraste and sold her out to Archon Hissarion, who earlier declared a truce in exchange of Andraste's capture. The Imperium forces managed to actually capture Andraste on her way to Nevarra. The betrayer was not yet known to the public, so Mephiras acted angry and outraged over the capture. Andraste was supposed to be burned alive in the middle of Minrathous as a message to anyone who dares oppose Tevinter. It is written that Hissarion took a pity on Andraste and killed her with his sword to end her suffering. Later on, the Archon claimed that the voice of the Maker ordered him to do so. Others argue that He said that when he realized that his people could not fight the influence of a growing Andrastian cult. After her death, Mephiroth ruled the lands conquered in Andraste's name. He lost a lot of support when the call of bearing arms against Tevinter was declined by him. Eventually, Archon Hesarian publicly exposed Mephiroth's deal with him, and his sons overthrew him. It is actually unknown what became of Mephiroth after being overthrown, but his name became the definition of betrayal. Years after the death of Andraste, her cult was spread to the wind. But Emperor Cordelius Draken, the very first emperor of Orlais, rose to the occasion and managed to unite a movement to solidify power in an organization known as the Chantry. After his death, the Chantry continued to spread Andraste's teaching, believing that the Maker will return only if the people from all the corners of Thedas praised him. Acting as a holy book of some sort for the Andrastian faith, every Chantry has a copy of the Chant of Light. Because most of the Theodosian people are illiterate, it is very rare to find a copy of the Chant of Light outside of the Chantry. The full text is very lengthy, and it is only sung in the Grand Cathedral in Val-Royaux by the decree of Divine Innocenti. Readers of the chant will be reading about historical events, but from the perspective of the faithful. For example, the Maker's creation of the world, the rise of the old god, the Maker abandoning the world, the rise and fall of Andraste. And also they will read about the first blight and the prophecy of the Maker's return. Some parts of the Chant of Light were removed because they reference events that are considered controversial, like Andraste's elven disciple, Shartan, who helped her cause immensely. The Chantry believes that pride was the reason for all evil, and that when the Maker comes back, he will purge all evil, including the Darkspawn. The Maker isn't an absent god as much as a patient observer. When he comes back, he will perform miracles for the people who believed in him, while shedding a tear for the people who don't. Fire is considered a symbol of purity for the Chantry, as when Andraste burned, she was cleansed. Each Chantry has its own lit brazier, and it is a bad omen for a brazier to go out. Some Chantry members burn papers with their sins written on it. Some even go the extra mile and brand themselves or even self-immolate. Guilt is a core virtue among the faithful. After all, the Maker abandoned the world because of their sins, and the people must atone for this. At death, the Chantry burns the bodies of the departed. While the souls of the faithful rise by the Maker, the unfaithful souls wander the fade seeking the Maker's grace. The Chantry believes that magic is a horrible gift, if left unchecked, a curse, and that in the presence of magic one must be extra cautious. In the cases of the exalted marches against elves and Kunari, for example, those who joined the ranks of the faithful earned a special title, exalted. And in very, very rare cases, some are declared anointed, which was considered as the hands of the Maker. There were some notable names in Andraste's life. For example, Hesarian the Redeemed. He was the Archon of the Tevinter Imperium and the one who ordered her execution. He was later redeemed and turned the Imperium towards the worship of the Maker. Shartan, he was an elven rebellious leader who joined the disciples of Andraste and helped her against the Imperium. Justinia was a former Tevinter slave and a very good friend of Andraste. She stood by her friend against the Imperium, and the first divine actually took the name Justinia to honor her. Havard was the disciple who took Andraste's ashes to the place that is now known as the Temple of Sacred Ashes. The hierarchy of the Chantry goes as follows. The divine is the highest rank in the Chantry. She oversees from her sunburst throne in the Grand Cathedral of Val-Royaux, elected for life by the College of the Clerics. The Grand Clerics are powerful representatives of the divine in regional matters. Each Grand Cleric manages a temple in a certain area or a region. Together, the Grand Clerics form the College of the Clerics. Mothers are priests who tend to a specific chantry. The senior one is named a revered mother, and mothers in general read the Chant of Light and preach of Andraste's teachings. Brothers and sisters is the rank below the mother, who devote their lives to the chantry. They can come from all backgrounds, orphans, noble, even criminals. They get educated into the religious matters and occupy various roles. The chanters are considered among the most devout members of the chantry, as they devote their own lives for the betterment of others. They also take an oath not to utter a single word that is not from the Chant of Light. Most of the time, chanters are heavy sinners looking for atonement. The Templar Order is considered the police side of the chantry. They are mainly focused on managing the mages, yet their practice have been proven dodgy, especially the practice of drinking the highly addictive lyrium in order to resist magic. The Templar Order have been accused of exploiting the addiction of the Templars in order to keep them within the chantry by promising a steady supply of lyrium. The Seekers of the Truth are the Divine's investigators, sent in discreetly to investigate matters of the chantry's interest. Although Seekers' leadership runs parallel to the Templar Order, ultimately Seekers always outrank the Templars. Thank you so much for listening. I really had so much fun gathering information for this topic. So next time we are going to tackle the Winter Chantry and see their point of view of how things happened. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere, don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you do like it. Thank you so much and see you next time.